Hello, welcome back to Pretty Conspiracy. This is Kay. Today's story is of a little known baseball player by the name of Gregory Halman. He played one season for the Seattle Mariners during the 2010-2011 season. Now, his story is quite tragic. It's not a well-known story, but it's a very sad story. He was actually murdered in November of 2011. And what makes the case so much more sadder and heartbreaking is that his murderer was actually his little brother. And so we're going to get into why this story is very compelling to me, because I feel like this is it's a cautionary tale, but it's also a tale of a brother who loved his little brother, but his brother had serious issues. So Gregory Halman was actually born on August 26, 1987, and he was born in the Netherlands. So he actually was biracial, and he had a younger brother who was 18 months younger. His name was Jason Halman, and they actually played on the Dutch national team together. So they were both into baseball, and they were both trying to make it into the American Major League Baseball, because they were already on the Dutch national team. And here's a picture of Gregory's younger brother, Jason Halman, who was 18 months younger than him. Now, the story goes that Jason Halman was the better player of the two, and that scouting agents would come from America to the Netherlands to scout different players and European baseball players, and that he was heavily scouted. But the thing was, it was said that Jason, his work ethic wasn't as rigorous. He wasn't as motivated as his older brother, Gregory, was. So the different scouts, even though they wanted to give Jason a chance because they felt he was the overall better player, his mental state actually kept him from getting a contract and being signed by a Major League Baseball team here in America, though he did make the Dutch national team quite often. And here's a picture of Jason with his brother Gregory. Jason is actually in the background with the black jacket on. Now, Gregory took Jason everywhere. Once he got signed to the Mariners minor league team, and then they brought him up to the major leagues, he took his brother everywhere with him in the United States, because he wanted his brother to be a part of that experience, because he felt bad that his brother was not drafted, and he wanted him to experience how it felt to be around other big league baseball players. So he really took his brother under his wing. But his brother had serious issues, and one of the things that his brothers was dealing with was a psychosis, which probably leads me to believe, when I read the story, that his brother was probably schizophrenic, though he was never diagnosed with it. and he never received any help for it. But his brother heard voices. So Jason, and to hear voices, is a psychosis. And so it leads me to believe that his brother was um, schizophrenic. And the family did not deal well with it in terms of getting him the appropriate psychological help. Now, Gregory Halman, he still wanted to believe in his brother. He was very close to his brother because they grew up playing Little League baseball together, and they always dreamed of playing for the Seattle Mariners together. So he still wanted to have that dream come true. But his brother was spiraling out of control into delusionment, and psychosis. And mental illness is something that a lot of people deal with, but a lot of people don't know how to deal with it. And if you read his story, you can read Gregory Halman's story in an edition of Sports Illustrated, or ESPN, I'm sorry, magazine many years ago, back in 2012, I believe. And it goes to in depth about the whole dysfunctional family unit that Gregory Halman and Jason Halman grew up in. It tells the story of their uncle, which is their dad's brother, who also killed his wife in a domestic dispute. And this is a picture of Gregory Halman playing for the Dutch national team in 2009. And this is right before he gets called to the big leagues by the Seattle Mariners. And of course, Greg Halman played for the Seattle Mariners during the 2010-2011 season. Now, the night of November 21st, 2011, at around 5:20 a.m. in the morning, by this time, I should tell you that Gregory Halman's career in the major leagues was not going as pristine as it once was, because he didn't deliver the numbers that the Seattle Mariners were looking for. So they actually sent him back down to the minor leagues. So he therefore went back to the Netherlands, and he got an apartment there with his younger brother, Jason. Like I said, he always took his younger brother up under his wing. And he had a small apartment there with his brother. His brother Jason was going through major psychosis at this moment, where he would hear voices. He would go to social media, mainly Facebook, and post different postings, different song lyrics of Drake and Tupac, and he would say that he hears voices and they're telling him to do this, that his life is over, that he's already dead. Very disturbing messages, and he would do that throughout that particular day. And he would turn the music up loudly, and he was listening to Drake, the rapper Drake, and he turned the music up loudly so that he said the music, I guess, helped drowned out the voices in his head. So at one point, during that night, that Monday, November 21st, 2011, that night, he actually turned off the music, and it was quiet. And then at some point, Jason Halman turned the music back up, and it was around that time, a little bit after 5 a.m., that Gregory, who had told an ex-girlfriend to come over for support, went to confront his younger brother and told him, please turn the music down. And in the process of doing that, an argument broke out, and a heated argument, which led to Jason Halman pulling out a knife. And he actually wounded his older brother. He stabbed his older brother in the left side of the neck. And it was just one stab. But the thing was, he stabbed his brother in such a... They said if it was 1 inch to the left or right, his brother would have been okay. Gregory would have been fine. But because it was at that precise point of a major artery, he actually bled to death within minutes. It's a heartbreaking story. Yeah, Gregory Halman bled to death within minutes, because that one little stab wound punctured a major artery in his neck. And the police were called, and his mom came. Their mom came, and actually, the brother who's apprehended, Jason Halman, he just kept screaming, I want to see my brother, I want to see my brother, as if he was unaware of what he had just done to his brother. This shows you that he was seriously out of his mind. And I can't imagine, because the story is that Greg Halman would have done anything for his little brother. Anything. But his brother, in a fit of not rage, but psychosis, took his brother's life. But it almost seemed as if you read the story more in depth, that it was going to happen. And I don't know. I think Greg Halman probably was afraid of his little brother. But it's like when you have a family member who's very violent or very mentally ill, you are afraid of them and you don't know what they're capable of, but you still want to be there for them. You don't want to abandon them. And Jason Halman felt like he had nothing to live for because he couldn't make it to the major leagues. And he felt like he's actually blackballed at one point because of the scouting agents. He was unaware of his mental illness. And those around him who were aware of his mental illness didn't act in time, and it caused a life. Greg Halman was only 24 years old when he was killed. And who knows what his life could have been like if he would have went back to the major leagues from the minor leagues. We don't know. We'll never know the answer to that. And that's what's so sad about that story. And another thing so sad about this story, and the reason I want to do it, is because it's not well known. And it's very tragic. But he loved his brother dearly. But his brother needed serious help. Instead of trying to coddle him and put him in an apartment and give him material things, his brother needed mental help. And he probably needed to actually be institutionalized, but that was something he never received. And this was the outcome of it. Now, how does this story end? Of course, here's his funeral on November 29th, 2011. He is buried in the Netherlands. Let me tell you how the story ends. The story of Greg Halman ends in this way. A brother of Greg Halman acquitted of stabbing Seattle Mariner to death. As Jason Halman acquitted of fatal stabbing, Dutch court cites state of psychosis at the time. So, in August of 2012, the Dutch state released Jason Halman, citing that he was under a state of psychosis. A Dutch court acquitted the brother of Seattle Mariners outfielder Greg Halman on Thursday of stabbing the baseball star to death last year, saying he was in a state of psychosis at the time. Rotterdam District said Jason Halman was in a state of psychosis at the time of the stabbing and could therefore not be held accountable for his actions. Greg Halman hit .230 in 35 games and made starts at all three outfield positions for the Mariners in 2011 before being opted to AAA Tacoma. The 24-year-old died after being stabbed in the neck on November 21st, 2011 at an apartment in Rotterdam, reportedly following an argument over loud music. In a written statement, the court said Jason Halman was allowed to walk free after psychiatric and psychology assessments found there is only a remote chance of any reoccurrence. It is well possible that the psychosis has been a singular event. So they're saying he is not going to be a repeat offender, and this was only a one-time event. Halman had been released from custody 2 weeks after prosecutors joined defense attorneys in saying that he should be acquitted on mental health grounds. Born in Haarlem, Greg Halman played in the Dutch Pro League and was part of the gold medal winning Dutch squad at the 2007 European Championship. He also played for the Netherlands at the 2009 World Baseball Classic. Because he played professionally in the U.S., he was not part of the Dutch team that won the Baseball World Cup in Panama last year. And so, there you have it. That is how that ended. If you read later and to more in depth about the story. His mom advocated, their mom, I should say, both Jason and Greg's mother advocated that her younger son, Jason, for his freedom. So she wanted him to be released. She didn't, she had lost her oldest son, and she didn't want to lose her younger son. And he was evaluated. Finally, it took this tragic event for them to evaluate him and to determine that he did have a form of psychosis. Now, I don't know what Jason Halman's doing at this moment. I last read that he was living with his mother, with their mother, in the Netherlands, and hopefully he is on some medication and he is into some therapy. It's a very tragic story. And one interesting thing about those two brothers is they were so much alike, and they got matching tattoos. They wanted to be in each other's world so badly, and it's a tragic end for the both of them. It's a really sad story. It's heartbreaking because there was no winners in that. But it's also a testament to how we try to be there for family, even at the detriment of ourselves. And sometimes the consequences can be deadly. And Gregory Halman could have actually just kept his distance from his brother, went about his life, and just left his brothers to his own devices. But he wanted so badly to be that older brother, to be that protective older brother, and to take care of his little brother, because he knew his little brother had a serious mental issue. And he wanted to be, I guess, a savior to his brother. But he ended up being a casualty of his own very unselfish, very unconditional love for his little brother. But I wanted to share his story because when I came across this story, I don't remember it. I don't recall it. Maybe because Greg Halman wasn't a huge Major League Baseball player at the time of his death. But I did find it in my archives, and I was like, his story definitely deserves to be told. So that is the story of Greg Halman, the tragic story. And you can read more about that story on ESPN.com. They have a more in-depth article on it. It's very interesting. It tells their childhood and everything. So I recommend that to you. And this is Pretty Conspiracy. I will talk to you later.